About 2 years ago, I went through something absolutely insane that still crosses my mind sometimes. I was 31, dating a woman named Allison who was 28. We'd been together for about 6 months, and at first everything seemed perfect. Weekends were mostly spent together, we texted constantly, and we had belongings at each other's places. From the outside it looked like any normal relationship. Allison came from an extremely wealthy and influential family. Her father was a judge, her mother was well known in charity circles, and her brother was active in local politics. Their family name was tied to prestigious buildings and organizations. Me. I was just an ordinary guy working as an IT project manager. A solid career, but nothing that would attract social attention like her family. One night I planned to meet an old college friend, but he cancelled last minute due to food poisoning. Knowing Allison was out at a pub with friends, I decided to surprise her. Huge mistake. I walked into the Compass pub and saw her at the bar, but she wasn't with any friends. She was all over a man I didn't know. They were kissing and touching and I was completely shocked. I approached, confused and hurt, and called her name. At first, she looked startled. Then her face changed like she had put on a mask. "Can I help you?" she asked as if I were a stranger. I was frozen for a second, then said, "What's going on?" The man she was with stood and asked, "Everything okay, Ollie?" Which, by the way, she never allowed me to call her. She didn't hesitate. She laughed, turned to the bar and shouted, "Someone call security. This creep's been following me all night." Before I could react, 2 massive bouncers grabbed me and started dragging me out. I tried to explain we'd been dating 6 months, but they didn't listen. One bouncer told me to leave. As they hauled me to the door, I looked at Allison, hoping she'd speak up. Instead, she stared coldly and said, "I've never seen this man in my life." And just like that, I was thrown onto the wet sidewalk, humiliated in front of everyone. I didn't call or text her. I just walked away. Something inside me snapped that night, but not with anger. It was more like a cold, calculated switch flipped. For the next week, I didn't just sit in anger. I collected evidence. I saved every text, email, and photo we'd shared. I even grabbed screenshots of her social posts about me before she deleted them. I kept receipts for gifts, hotel bookings from trips we took. Everything. I dug deeper. I discovered that while with me, she had been seeing 3 other men. One was the pub guy, another worked at her family's law firm, and the third had political connections through her dad. None of us knew about the others. I made multiple copies. One digital, one physical at my place, and one professionally bound like a legal document. I mailed the final copy directly to her father's courthouse office with a note. "Your daughter's character documented. This goes public tomorrow unless you and Allison meet me at my apartment at 7 p.m. I included my address and phone number. Less than an hour later, the judge called, furious. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he shouted. I asked if he received my package and said, "This is blackmail. I could have you arrested." Calmly I replied, "It's the truth, Judge. I'm not asking for money, but if you'd like, I can send this to your law partners, the Bar Association, your wife's charity, even your child's college." There was silence. Finally, his voice softened. "What do you want?" I repeated the ultimatum. "You and Allison at my apartment at 7 p.m. alone, or it all goes public tonight." He hung up. True to my word, they arrived exactly on time. The judge looked every bit the powerful man he was, but it was obvious he wasn't in control anymore. Allison looked like she'd seen a ghost, pale and trembling. I held them at the door as long as possible. "You have 5 minutes, the judge said. "Actually, I have as much time as I need," I replied. "But I'll be brief. Your daughter publicly humiliated me last week, accused me of stalking after 6 months of dating, and had me thrown out of a bar while continuing a date with one of the 3 men she was seeing behind my back." Allison tried to deny everything. "You've been stalking me," she said. But every piece of evidence had timestamps, receipts, and photos. Cut her off. "I don't care what you say. Here's what will happen. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. at the Compass, Allison will publicly admit what she did and apologize in front of the same crowd and bouncers who threw me out." Allison laughed. "You're insane if you think I'll do it." Her father interjected. "And if she does, this ends." The files remained as leverage, but they wouldn't go public if she complied. The judge agreed, and before Allison could protest, they left. My phone immediately blew up with messages from her. "You can't do this to me. My father will destroy you. He's already threatening to fire me." I ignored everything. The next night I arrived at the bar early. The same bouncers were on duty, but they didn't recognize me. Place was packed. At 8 o'clock, Allison came in alone, spotted me and walked over. "Let's get this over with," she hissed. "Not yet," I said. "We're waiting for someone." At 8:15 the pub guy arrived with his friends. Perfect timing. I stood and walked to the center of the bar. Allison followed, looking like she wanted to vanish. "Excuse me, everyone," I called, and gradually the room quieted. "Last Friday, I was thrown out of here after this woman accused me of stalking her. In reality, we'd been in a relationship for 6 months." The bouncers shifted uncomfortably as whispers spread. "Your turn," I said to Allison. Her face flushed bright red. "It's true," she muttered. "We were dating. I lied when I said I didn't know him and had him removed." "I'm sorry," she nearly choked out. I turned to the bouncers. "She's talking about last Friday when you removed me. As you've just heard, I wasn't stalking her. She was cheating and got caught." One of them actually muttered an apology. "We're done here," I told Allison and left. But I wasn't finished. That night, I sent the full file to the managing partners at her family's law firm, the Bar Association's ethics committee, and her direct supervisor. By morning she had been fired. The story spread fast within their social circles. 3 weeks later, on a Sunday morning, my doorbell rang. The entire Thompson family stood there. The judge, his wife, Allison, and her 2 siblings. "May we come in?" the judge asked, far less intimidating than before. I let them inside. "What you did was wrong," he began. "Blackmail is a crime." "I know," I admitted. I was hurt and humiliated. I wanted her to feel what I felt. It wasn't my proudest moment. But what Allison did was wrong too. "We didn't raise her like this," her mother said quietly. Allison stared at the floor. "You've damaged our family," the judge continued. "My reputation, my wife's charity, my son's career, my younger daughter's college prospects." "I only meant to hurt Allison," I said honestly. "Not all of you. We're a family," her mom said softly. "Even when one of us does something terrible." Allison finally looked up. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "What I did at the pub was cruel. We ask that you remove the documents." "Allison's lost her job and reputation," the judge said. "She's agreed to therapy. We want a chance to rebuild without this hanging over us." I thought for a moment. The anger had cooled, and I didn't like who I had become. "I was wrong to blackmail you," I told them. "I'll recall the documents. Not for Allison, but because this revenge isn't who I want to be." They thanked me and left. I then sent emails retracting my previous statements, explaining I had shared misleading information out of personal grievance. It didn't fully clear Allison, but it gave her family some room to recover. I never saw or spoke to Allison again, though I heard she moved to another city. Eventually the judge retired, and their family's reputation took a hit, but survived. I learned something about myself, a darker side I hadn't known existed. When pushed, I was capable of calculated destruction. The revenge felt satisfying in the moment, but afterward I didn't like who I had become. I regret the blackmail and the harm I caused to the family. I don't regret holding Allison accountable, she deserved it, but I could have handled it differently. The pub incident was brutal. Dozens of witnesses being thrown out, her denial, public humiliation. It's hard to explain unless you've experienced it. 2 years later, I've moved to a new city and started fresh. Sometimes I reflect on how quickly I became someone I didn't recognize. It was a wake-up call about what we're all capable of when pushed beyond our limits.